This is the hardware that we use in building the backdrops. If you've gotten one of the kits from us, you'll more than likely get this set. 2 eye bolts, 2 clips, 2 pulleys, and 1 clam cleat. If you didn't get it from us, or we didn't send along the pulleys, you can substitute eye bolts for them. They will get attached to a 4-foot long 3-inch by 1-inch board. I have both boards with me here, and I like to work with them together because one of them is going to go on the wall and the other one's going to go as part of the backdrop. But I like to have the pulleys and the eye bolts just about above each other. So what I tend to do is measure in about 5 inches and mark the center of one of the boards. And that's the board that's going to be on the wall attached. And the reason I use a board instead of putting the eye bolts directly on the wall is because it's smoother when you can use the pulleys right below the eye bolts, and then it pulls up straightly and doesn't get crooked on us. And the other advantage of using the board is when you're mounting the board on the wall, you can find the studs, and it may not be exactly in the same places that you want the eye bolts to go, although that's not critical. So I marked that 5-inch spot on that board. Both ends of the boards are going to be identical at this first phase. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that marked spot and just drill a pilot hole in it. And you know, the real do-it-yourselfers, as opposed to me, who's just kind of a part-time do-it-yourselfer, will have perhaps a better way of doing this. But I drill that pilot hole and I just screw in the eye bolt. And I do the same thing in the same distance on the other side. So it ends up being screwed in just like that. You can put it on the end so that when it's hanging up, it's hanging straight down and closest to the wall, or you can put the pilot hole in the side. Now you wouldn't necessarily do both of these, and put the eye bolt in this way so that when it's hanging on the wall, you can hook the backdrop on here, and that way it'll actually get up about 4 inches higher, depending on how tall your wall is. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So you can see I've put an eye bolt on the flat side, and I put one on both ends of this board that will be hanging on the wall. The next thing we're going to do is get the position to put the pulley. And it's best to have the pulley on the backdrop so it's just about lined up with the eye bolt. So I can mark one of these holes, and I like to use the star number 8 1¼ inch star drive coated screws, and your do-it-yourself person is going to have their favorite kind of screws and stuff. So I just put the first screw in, and I don't need to mark the second one because there's only one spot to put it at this point. Once I've got that in there, I will do the same thing on the other side. The actual material that we use for the backdrop is from Parker Performance. It's called Plastex or Polywall. You can find it at almost all of the Home Depots now. Sometimes you can find it at Lowe's also. The reason we like it, it is a plastic material. The nicest thing about it is that we haven't found any of the solutions that are used commonly in the shelter environment that has harmed this. So it's been a great material, and it's flexible. So we get the no horizontal lines in the back. The two sides of the background material are very similar. One of them has just a little bit more texture on it, and I like to use that as the side that the animals are going to be standing on. The other side is just a little bit slicker, but if it gets put up that way, it's really not a problem. Now it's time to sandwich the backdrop material on the two boards. The backboard is going to be one with no hardware on it at all, and I just square up the corners of the backdrop material there, put on the board with the pulleys on top of it, make sure that the backdrop material is even with the top part of the board, which is even with the top board. And if I'm going to use the clam cleat, the way it goes on, you can see the two jaws coming out the bottom there. They are going to protrude underneath this metal thing towards the bottom or where the backdrop is. And I'll just put one screw in it for now. Then I'll move to the other end of the boards, where again I've got my bottom board with no hardware on it, lined up with the top of the backdrop material, lined up with the sandwich board with the hardware on it, and stick one screw in there, and screw those together. Just to ensure that our backdrop stays secure, I put one more screw in the middle on the front side, and then I will turn the whole thing over and turn it around to the back side and put just a couple of more screws in. Then I can turn it around to the front side again and finish putting on the clam cleat by putting on those 4 other screws. And that's how the backdrop part is made.